Today I intend to hopefully enlighten a few of you as to what Muddler is, why I made it, and why you may or may not wish to use it. Um, I guess to start, uh, what Muddler is. It's a build tool that takes a set of files and turns them into a standard Mudlet package that to the end user should hopefully look as though it was written entirely in Mudlet. This way, you can put out a package that people could still edit, but you could still keep decent, clean Git diffs and edit everything in your favorite browser or not browser, text editor. I'm falling apart already. So, why did I write it? Well, mostly because people kept coming into the help channel and wanting to know how they could edit their Mudlet scripts in their favorite text editor. We got a lot of developers coming in who were a little more familiar with the code editing process and wanted to code in their IDE of choice because there were reasons it was their IDE of choice. And while I do feel that Mudlet has a pretty nice script editor as these things go, it's not a full IDE, and I don't know if it ever will be. And I don't know, see a problem, fix a problem. So uh, I put it on the back burner for probably 2 or 3 months, and then one day in a fever dream, I got up and decided to actually do it. And 6 hours later, Mudlet 0.0.1 or whatever was semi-functional. Not Mudlet, Muddler. Uh, anyways, um, so I guess any questions to start before I ramble on further?
Not really. Are you gonna start the stream? I mean, the screen display.
Yeah, I probably ought to go ahead and do that. Hello. There we go. All right. Well, if there are no other questions, the package I'm going to be converting today is a village influencer. The reason I chose it is because it has different kinds of things. It has timers, or I'm sorry, it has triggers, aliases, and key bindings in it, which are the three probably trickiest things to get set up in Muddler. So I thought it would be a good one to set up. Yeah, whatever. Offline. So we'll just start by installing it. That's the easy thing to do. And we'll open up our script editor in Mudlet because we'll be needing that. And then we'll want to get started on the project. I've just opened up the terminal here. You can just create the directory in your file explorer, but I'm kind of a little bit of a keyboard cowboy and I grew up in the terminal, so I tend to stay there a lot. Oh, apparently there's a new version to install. I swear I opened this earlier this morning. No, I guess I should find some way to fill some dead air. Not very good at that either. I opened literally almost everything but this right before starting to make sure it worked. I don't know why I didn't. stimulating content. I can tell already I'm going to have to edit the file down at the end. All right. Let's see here. What am I doing? Yay, it started. Or did it? Oh no, don't tell me you're going to give me problems. Okay. That's more like it. All right. So the base file which controls a Muddler project is called an M file because, I don't know, it's Muddler, it seemed to work. And it's just a JSON file that's a set of keys and values that controls largely the metadata of the package, which is output at the end. Originally, it was just a name and a version, but with the extensions to the package manager that came in the most recent release of Mudlet, I went ahead and added the rest. So the easiest way, honestly, to get started is to copy it from another one. I wrote it and I still don't remember what all it is. I don't know. We ought to start at 1.0, right? Use the GitHub name. I'm just filling values in. We won't worry about an icon right now or the output file. All right. So we're working on the village influencer. I'm going to make it version 1.0.0. I've set the author to the person whose GitHub we pulled this off of. And I've given it a title. Now let's give it a README. With Muddler, if you have a readme.md file, and in this case right now it's case sensitive. It does have to be capital readme lowercase md, and I probably ought to fix that, but I was just bashing it in real quick. But it will be read in as the long form description of your package in Mudlet, and I'll show you what I mean by that in just a moment. But for now, let's just put a little bit of content in here. All right, that's enough of that. Did I hear some other people join? I believe I did. Does anybody have any questions so far? I know I'm going a little bit quick. Can everybody hear me?
I can hear you.
Yep.
Okay, I had at least one report that somebody couldn't, so I just wanted to make sure. I'm not sure how to resolve that though. This is my first time really doing this over Discord, so um, Thought I saw someone typing. Again, I apologize. I know I'm not very good at this, so we're gonna muddle through it together. Wah, 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 wah.
Hey, are you still talking? Because I don't hear you, but I see you typing.
All right, how about now?
There you are!
Why does everything have to be more difficult? All right, let me catch you up. I've created a triggers directory with the village influencer folder within it. I have created inside of there Lua files for the triggers and a JSON file to describe them. And for some reason, VS Code is being a little weird on me today and not showing new files. So we'll see how this goes. All right. The JSON file is where you're going to actually describe the triggers themselves. By that, I mean you're going to put what the triggers are named, what the patterns for the triggers are, and what those trigger types are. So on the wiki, we have my bad attempt at documentation. This is early Damien documentation, and I apologize in advance. Um, oh, I am so nervous I'm going to screw up using my own tool. Uh-huh.
Take a deep breath. Everything's okay.
All right. So got? First trigger. Yo. Most of this you don't actually need to set up because the defaults are just fine. Patterns. I'm gonna make y'all sick if I don't watch out. In this case, oh, wait. I told y'all. What did I tell y'all? You're gonna have more than one pattern. I'm not very good at this. All right. There we go. I know it made sense to me when I did it. It should make sense to me now. Ha ha ha. All right, let's close the door. It's only got one pattern. We move on to the next one. Come on. Shuffles. And even when you're the one who wrote it, it becomes easier to make them after you do the first one.
Okay, short question. Is the pattern type defined here or elsewhere, or is it default to regex?
It'll be defined here in just a minute. I'm just getting the stuff I need to copy out of Mudlet first, and then I'm going to go back and add some details. But that's a good question. The type here is defined right beneath the pattern, and thank you for pointing that out. If I remember correctly, much like Mudlet, it defaults to substring. And I'm going to point out here for regex triggers, this one doesn't have any in it. But if the pattern was, say, something simple, you need to escape the backslash. So for any patterns which include a backslash as part of them, you do need to add an extra backslash in front of it in order for it to make it that way into the final string. So that is one quirk of Muddler that does trip some people up. And I just wanted to point that out, even though we're not going to run into it right here. If you do have a backslash in the pattern, you need to escape the backslash first. All right. That looks right. And the thing about converting these is it's largely a copy-paste job if you've already got it written. Okay, and see, with these, where they're only one line, I'm going to leave close the door intact. What you can do is in the trigger, you can define the script yourself. And I find I often will if it's only one line. You know what? I'm not going to with that line, just due to the sheer number of double quotes in it. Never mind. All right.
Sorry, I broke you.
No, it's okay. If you did want to define it here, though, you could do something as simple as like send get thing in here, and then you wouldn't have to create a file for it if it was just a simple command. And all of this is documented on the wiki as well, so you don't have to necessarily just listen to my fumbling about as though I know what I'm talking about. All right, and just to check that things are working, we can go ahead and stop here and muddle the package and make sure it comes in right. Oh. So it creates a build directory, which will then have the M package in it. And you see here, it's pulled in all the data that we put into the M file, as well as the readme.md information. It creates this created timestamp automatically based on UTC time, just because that's the easiest way for me to manage it. And let's check our triggers and see if they came in properly. That looks good to me.
I'm going to ask what may seem like an overly obvious question.
Oh, please do.
If you have already created the triggers in Mudlet, it has a package exporter. Why put them into Muddler to make them into a package?
Because you might be moving to using Muddler and trying to convert old packages that you've already created. I get asked a lot, how do I take things I've already created and set them up for Muddler? And when I asked around, I asked if people thought it might be better to watch making a project from start or converting one, and I got more people saying they thought it might be easier to see or better to watch me convert one.
Okay. I was just thinking, like, if the whole purpose of it is to make it into an M package, but Mudlet does that too, why do both? Was what I was trying to figure out.
Oh, yeah, no, in general, I wouldn't recommend doing both. In general, I would recommend starting with a Muddler package. But the things you learn about Muddler are going to be the same either way, so I figured I'd give people the option, and I got more requests for conversion. But that's a good question. You wouldn't want to do it both ways. You generally want to pick one or the other. But I've had several people who are interested in Muddler ask me, how can I take what I've already created and turn it into a Muddler project?
Okay, that makes sense.
Plus, this gives me something where you can look at something created in Mudlet and the thing created in Muddler and see in what ways they might differ, as well as just see that it can create something very similar to what you created out of Mudlet itself. But that's a good question. All right. Just making sure everything's okay, and it seems to be. Where was I? Oh, yeah. Triggers seem to be good, so I'm going to go ahead and remove the package. And we'll come back here to test again later. So now that we've got the triggers, let's do the aliases. And the aliases are going to work very similar to the triggers because aliases are pretty much triggers on your input line. So let's see what aliases we're working with here. All right. And we'll give it the same name. and a pattern. And for a lot of them, this will be enough in the JSON descriptor because the code's going to go in a script file. I never claimed this would be exciting, did I? I hope not.
No, you didn't.
Let's see. If I'd even given, oh, what am I doing? If I'd even given myself a little bit more prep time, I could have had this pre-prepared. But then I'd be that YouTube meme about any coding video. Now let me just copy paste some text in, and we've got bubble boggle. Let's see. So in this case, yes, it's a lot of copy and pasting. But for me, when I start here, it gives me one place where I can look at all of my items in one file, and one file where I can look at all of my alias patterns to make sure A, I'm not overlapping, and B, that they all make consistent sense with each other. It's one of the reasons I really like describing these things in JSON. Like, I understand people who ask for a way to look at these things in one file, but I also understand why that's not easy to set up the way Mudlet is configured and written. Oh, and see, there's one of those backslashes. Let's see. Almost done. See, it helps when I like almost forget that there's anybody watching, but then I just quietly work and start copying and pasting away, and that's much less interesting. All right. Now we've got our list of aliases. And much like before, we'll just create a file for each one. So and that gets the contents of, oh, we'll see. Pay attention. And that gets the contents of that. And then we just go through one by one. And watch me do super awesome copy pasting. Anybody who told you that programming wasn't largely copy pasta was either trying to make themselves sound more important or just hadn't gotten that far yet. I'm mostly joking. Mostly. All right. Man, these names. Good and descriptive. Maybe one day, my fingers, they will cooperate. All right. I don't see any new questions. Trying to pop back and check every now and then. All right. All right. Pay attention. I'm talking to myself. I'm talking to myself a lot. See, this is why I mostly do tech support. Nobody gets to listen to me be uncertain, all the ums and ahs.
Quick question. Could you do a single Lua file here with functions as opposed to having separate ones for each one?
I mean, you certainly could if you wanted. If you wanted to set up, well, okay, it largely depends how you want it to come out looking in the final product. You could have one alias that had a complicated pattern and called different functions, or you could have a script file that created a bunch of temp aliases for you, or anything like that. I wouldn't. It's Muddler isn't set up to do like one Lua file and create a bunch of different aliases based off of that. But what you could do is have an aliases.json and have each of those just call a simple file in the script object. Like I've been known to create all of my code for my aliases within my function tables in a package, and then the aliases just end up looking like. Actually, I think I've got a good example. This is the highlighter. I think I did this largely with the aliases. No, I did more work than that. But what you could do then is you could just have all your scripts in here the same way I did with save and load, so that all of your functions were in a script file or in a .lua file that you require somewhere, and you could just write it all up in the JSON this way. But the way Muddler's kind of designed to work is to help break things out into like a file tree structure as opposed to just one XML file, in part because I really hate trying to maintain one XML file as diff. And when you install a Mudlet package with multiple XML files in it, it clutters up the package manager a bit and starts to look a little bit rough. Does that answer your question? I know I started rambling a bit there at the end, but I think I answered your question.
Yeah, I think it does. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Cool. So, I lost my place. Village set, village influencing list, village influence campaign style. There we go. Woof. All right. There we go. All right. Now I've got our JSON file describing the Lua, describing the aliases, and we've got our Lua files for the aliases. That all looks like I did an okay job of copy pasta from the right spot. So then let's check our work. We'll muddle the package up. Build completed successfully. All right. And then we've got hopefully. Oh, my patterns didn't get included. See, and that's why we test these things. I must have done something off. Right. Oh, it's because I called it regex, not pattern in that. Well, that would explain it. That's all right. I can fix that. Gosh, I dislike Windows. Apropos of nothing, I'm just not liking the way I have to move around between things. Let's look again. There it is. There we go. And quick look seems to have items in order. So if the question is, what do you get by using Muddler? Largely the answer is the ability to easily edit your packages outside of Mudlet. And in my opinion, cleaner way to store and save source code. Now, that being said, Muddler is very opinionated because I wrote it and it has my opinions. So I've tried to document where these sorts of gotchas are, but I've missed a few of them, I'm certain. So hopefully people will let me know if they find new ones. That was from before. All right, we've got aliases, we've got triggers. Next is key bindings. Key bindings is one of the trickier ones because you have to describe the actual key binding in use, and that can be a little different. So, first of all, let me see if I've named it right, because it might be. And I want to name that folder keys. I don't do a lot of keys. Well, I guess we'll find out in a minute when it muddles or doesn't. Experimentation. Y'all thought I wrote the wiki for y'all, but it's really because I can't remember any of this myself. There we go. Oh, wait. Helps if I write valid JSON. Oh. The keys for this are Control plus F9. I believe what I want is, yeah, CTRL. That should do it. I documented all of the key binding key codes on the wiki fairly extensively. If you find something isn't documented, let me know. They can be a little bit tricky. The way I ended up having to code them up, there's a lot of things that you just write the name for. I am available for specific help with this, and I will call out specific things as I come across them. But just know that the describing your key codes and your key bindings is one of the more seeded minefields when using Muddler, I'll admit. I guess this is CR4? Yeah. All right. I think that will do it. All right, and then we create the Lua file. Sorry about being quiet. One of these days I'll get better at presenting things. But today is not that day. All right. Now then, I believe that should do it. Let's muddle it up and see how it looks. Hey, it didn't work at all. So, I bet you this should be named keys, since I named it keys.json. There we go. Yeah. The other thing is I've added output to it recently, so I don't know if you can see, but it tells you when it's pulling in different parts, so I can see here that it worked. Whereas if you go further up, you do not see that. So it's one way to see if something was pulled in. And if I'd been smart, I would have done that sooner. Oh my goodness. Reset, reset. There we go. All right. Where was I? Oh, yeah. And now we take a look. And we have our keys. Oh, but we have undefined key codes. See, that's not good. I prefer to think of things as happy little accidents and not mistakes, but this feels like a mistake. Well, let's troubleshoot it, why don't we? And if the answer really is as easy as all that, and just go through and do it for the rest of them. No. Well, it looks like I might have a bug I need to chase down. Isn't that embarrassing? Well, this is easy enough to chase down. What's going on here? So let's see. Key code and key modifier. Yeah, let's put in a 0 for the key code. Huh. Well, that's not something I should necessarily fix on this stream. I'll have to take a look at what's causing that. I could have sworn that was working, though. I know I used it before. How odd. Well, nobody's reported issues with it.
Can you do the same thing with key binds as you did on the aliases, where you define just a function?
Yeah, you can. All of the JSON will allow you to define the script as script in the JSON if you don't want to have it stored in a file with the same name. Okay, it is F1. F9. All right, yeah, I don't know why that isn't working. Does seem like it should be capitalized. I'll figure it out another time. Probably as soon as I'm off stream. That, however, apart from the embarrassing failure of my tool at the end there, is the general gist of it, and I will open up the floor to questions either about Muddler or about Mudlet in general. I plan for this to go on for at least an hour, and we got 10 minutes before we hit that, and then if there's enough questions, I'll just keep going. Anybody? I can't possibly believe that I was that clear.
I don't know. You might get more questions after the screen recording is over.
That could very well be. All right. Well, if that's the case, let me go ahead and stop the recording.